Before we get started, like, thank you for your time. I think it's probably apt to mention I've been a fan of you guys since I was in year seven, and now I'm well past
Nice.
uni, so it's pretty
Ah,
cool to be
sick.
speaking.
Hey, we've grown up together.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I want to get started. Neck Deep and Australia have such an inextricable connection. I was there when you guys first debuted your Torn cover, which of course is like, Natalie Imbruglia, Australian icon. And not to mention, you guys were, just back here in the year of 2023. What is it that makes you love coming back to our shores?
Yeah, Torn cover was surprisingly like we did not expect that to do as well as it did, but it
Yeah.
did, and it is a banger, and it is cool with me. We don't tend to play it live too much these days, but when we do crack it out, it is fun. But the thing that keeps us coming back to Oz is, I've been saying is just it's just the people and the place. Like the shows are awesome as well, and that's like the caveat, and that's like the reason we're there, obviously, and that's you know prime objective is to play good shows. So we don't have to worry about that, and so yeah, it's just the people and the place. Like it's just beautiful. Like it's somewhere that I want to be, or I want to travel outside of music too, and come here with my wife and go there with my wife and show her that part of the world because yeah, it's beautiful. Both the people and the place. It really is a beautiful place, and things generally seem. I mean, I know, every country has its own issues with society politically or whatever, but generally, being in compared to the UK and the US, things seem a little bit more chill out in Oz for sure. So yeah, it's nice to go somewhere that isn't so on edge. It definitely is like nice and relaxing being there for sure, and we get looked after so well when we're out there as well. Like, yeah, it is truly no cap one of our favorite places to tour in the world
Well,
and
that's
always have
lovely
fun.
to hear. Yeah. And obviously, this time around, you're celebrating the self-titled album, which,
Mhm.
was a major milestone for you guys. But, this album, it was labeled as probably the most creative control you've had to date. And I guess, what does creative control mean for you guys? Did it mean, more like nights in unprofessional settings, or did it mean unlearning all the stuff you'd learned from the other albums? Like, how did music once again belong to you?
Good question. Well, I think it's more to do with like, it's maybe a sort of unseen thing that maybe like fans don't get to see as much, but like a lot of bands choose to work with like producers and a lot of artists tend to work with producers and the role of a producer can be like many things. And sometimes they're incredibly beneficial to a record if you click with that person or if the person like gets what you're doing and can contribute to what you want to do. But then sometimes you can come across you can go and write with people or make a record with people and it's like it just doesn't really click. Like the magic's not really there. Like the vibes are just off, or and even just like your environment is like a huge factor in that too. And I think as a young band, when we were working with producers, we were learning a lot, and we were willing to take a lot of guidance, and we were willing to, yeah, we were willing to take a lot of guidance. But then, just think the older and more experienced we've got, the more we've learned about ourselves and our sound and how we like to make music and what we do and don't want to do. And then and sometimes like people aren't always going to get that, and the only people that can really define your sound truly or represent your sound truly, it's ultimately going to be you and the band. And so um when I said it was like the most creative control we've had, it was because we did everything, other than record drums. We went elsewhere to record drums, but in terms of the writing and the tracking guitars, vocals, and mixing and mastering, we did, it was us. And um, so that yeah, it was like all the decisions were on us. Whether the album was good or whether it was bad, it was all on us. And um, yeah, I think we enjoyed doing it that way. It allowed us to make the most neck deep sounding record that we could have made, with no outside influence, with no wrestling for creative control, or not having to wrestle ideas from people, or we were just the masters of our own destiny in that respect. And yeah, I think it was the best thing for us at that time. It's not to say that we'll never work with a producer again. Like absolutely not. Like we could definitely go and work with a producer, but um, sometimes that doesn't work. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just we took control of our art and our product and product. God, that's such a bad word for music, but for our art. And yeah, that ultimately made a record that we were happy with before anyone else, and I think that's crucial. Like the band has to be stoked. If the band isn't stoked on it, then fans aren't going to be stoked on it. So yeah, that was it was the best decision we could have made, I think, and having that creative control just meant that we made the record that we wanted to make.
Absolutely. And you say in there, the acclamation that it is the most neck deep sounding record that you've made. And obviously the title carries that a little bit. I want to know though, did you guys go into the record knowing it would be a self-titled record, or did you make all the songs, they asserted themselves, and then you're like, this has to be called neck deep?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of the process. Like sometimes a record title kind of just jumps out at you, and like that is the record title. That happened with All Distortions Are Intentional. Like I saw it on a painting and was just like, that sounds like an album title. Like let's do that. But then this one felt like we were throwing album names around, and there was a few there was a few good ones. There was a few good ones. But then when the self title was suggested, for all the reasons we just talked about, like that's just seemed to make the most sense. And I think every band's got a self-titled,
Yeah.
and if it fits and if it's the time to do it, yeah, go on, let's make it a self-titled. Let's go.
Now, we're speaking of all the new album. I want to jump right back to, the flaming neck deep logo, the era of weird pizza pop punk and 2015 Warped Tour. When you look back then, did you ever think the legacy, acclaim, and most of all, longevity of your band would ever be what it is today?
Um, no. Although I knew that was like right on the cusp of Life's Not Out to Get You,
Mhm.
and we knew we'd made a good record with that, and we knew just based off of the reaction that we were getting on some of the first singles and stuff that it was going to be good, and that was definitely a very, very exciting time. Whether or not we would have been successful or whether or not it would have lasted forever, like that was just such a green and prosperous time for us of just it's I've mentioned this a few times and it's a quote that does stick with me, but it's a Kurt Cobain bit where he says the most exciting time in a band's career is when they're about to blow up but they don't know it.
Mm.
And that was kind of what that was, and it's true. It's true because you have no expectations, you have no overwhelming commitments, or you've got way less pressure on you to succeed and to follow up a record or anything like that. It's just a very, very exciting time to be a band. So that they were exciting times for us for sure, because it was like right before we sort of blew up. And I mean, in a lot of people's eyes, they probably would have thought we'd had already blown up by then, but that's when it properly, we really asserted ourselves. And so yeah, it was an exciting time. It was very, very, very fun. So I look back very fondly on those times.
Yeah, and I think you very much undersold Life's Not Out to Get You there. It's one of the best albums ever. It's my favorite album of all time.
Really?
And
Oh, fucking amazing. Thank you.
it's soon celebrating its 10th birthday. We're in the renaissance of, rejuvenation with people redoing things or even celebrating. Are there any plans to kind of spectacularly celebrate the album that did a lot for you?
Um, I think we're going to be doing some stuff at home and maybe in America for it. Just because it's that little bit easier to make it happen. But in Oz, we're probably going to throw some deep cut lifestyle to get you stuff. We'll do like a small celebration where we're like we'll play the best of that record. We feel like yeah, we'll play the best of that record because yeah, it's an important record for us. Really big record for us, and but we don't want to lean too heavily on the nostalgia thing, you know. We don't want to pigeonhole. We don't want to corner ourselves as like a legacy band just yet, because we got so much in the tank still. Like we know we've got we know we got a lot more albums to write and a lot more growing to do, and so we don't want to look to the past too much.
Mm.
We kind of did that with our Rain in July like EP anniversary, which was a little bit different in the sense because it was kind of like the anniversary of like the start of the band as well.
Yeah.
Um, but we ended up doing way more of those shows than we wanted to because they ended up being like quite high demand and quite easy for us to just go and do, and we used them as a bit of like gap filler stuff at times as well, and it just cheapened it a bit, and
Yeah.
we don't want to do that. We don't want to cheapen it. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves, or we don't want it to become a gimmick. Like we want it to be special, and we want it to be a thing of like if you're there and you can get to these anniversary shows or whatever it may be, then that's it. You know, like that's how it is. But we are gonna do some cool stuff around the anniversary for international fans. Maybe not so much shows, but there'll be some cool stuff for sure. And yeah, we'll be playing a little bit more lifestyle to get you stuff than we usually would. Um, but then yeah, there will be like a nice celebration of it, but we just don't want to lean too hard into it. We'll save that for the 20 year. I feel like 20 years is more substantial than 10 years. Like 10 years, you know, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that long, you know. So yeah, we'll shine a nice light on it, but I don't think we're going to lean on it too heavily.
Well, in 20 years, I'll still be there first in line, so that's enough
Yeah,
for me. That's totally
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, we're all
Um,
going to be here, so chill.
I do want to talk about your live show a little bit because obviously the Neck Deep live experience is just an emotional roller coaster. I've gone from crying so hard security guards laughed at me to then crowd surfing in the next song. There's so
Nice.
much energy. Um, I guess for you, has this energy ever shifted the way you've thought about a song? Like, was there maybe a song you were disconnected to or something from the new albums you didn't like that much, but seeing how people were singing and responded made you change your tone on it?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I can't really think of a song like specifically that does that, but live. But there's definitely stuff like that in the studio
Hmm.
where like um where like not even necessarily just me, but like you know, as a band, we can kind of be like, yeah, I don't know about this song, you know, and you chip away at it and you chip away at it, and it's only when fans hear it that you and respond to it that you're like, oh, holy shit! So like a song I think that like um sticks out for me with that is, well, there's two actually that I can think of, was December.
Hmm.
We really battled with that song. Like it went from being a full band song to being an acoustic song to then being, and now we play it full band and there's full band version of it and stuff. And like we were unsure of that song a little bit. We were just like, is it? I don't know. Is it good? I don't know. It's like, yeah, I think it's good. We'll put it on there. I mean, and the response to that song was just yeah, crazy, crazy. It's one of our biggest songs. But then the other one was "Can't Kick Up the Roots," because initially with that song, it was like we thought it sounded, we thought it sounded a little bit like nursery rhymey,
Yeah.
and a little bit like jovial. Um, but then yeah, when we started playing it live, it was like, oh shit, okay, like people really relate to the sentiment of this song, and it does have an awesome energy to it, and it's got like some awesome lyrics to it, and um yeah, so yeah, December and Roots were two of those songs that was like, okay, right. Yeah. I think as well, like if it wasn't for maybe like Jeremy McKinnon and Andrew Wade, who we made that record with, who were that like you say, going back to like what the role of a producer should be, you know, the producer should be sort of like the sixth band member sort of thing, you know, and with them to go in. Same with Rock Bottom. Rock Bottom was another one, and even one now with Rock Bottom. Like, it's not the best, but still. But if we didn't have Jeremy and Wade, like, no, these are good songs. Trust me. Let's see them through, see them through. Then yeah, we probably wouldn't have. So yeah, those are the ones that spring to mind. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah, incredibly interesting, and yeah, it's good to know a perspective. And the fact that both off that album is also very telling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were young. We were young,
Yeah,
you know. We didn't know what fans wanted or what they would respond to. So
yeah,
I think we've grown and evolved, we know what works. We've got a good formula going, and so yeah, it doesn't happen so much these days. But yeah, I mean, I would be revealing too much if I said any more. But yeah, there might be a case of that soon, I guess. But we'll see.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess jumping to more recent news. Yesterday, I believe you were nominated for Best UK Artist for the Heavies.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, that's a massive achievement, so congratulations for that first. But I wanted to kind of throw back what, or even to now, what do you think, the most pivotal part or, the thing that stuck with you most about growing up in the UK punk scene, whether it be something back then or now, how has it shaped you?
Yeah, I mean, I was put onto punk rock from a young age. Like I was pretty young. I had me and Seb had our older brother. He was huge punk, and so we've had it for a long time, and it's kind of always been a part of our lives. Like I really can't remember or imagine a time before it. But in the UK, the punk scene is incredibly strong.
Mm.
Some of the most famous and most iconic punk bands from like your traditional punk to even to now with like hardcore punk, which is the kind of form that it's taken. There's so many up and coming bands from the UK that are just absolutely killing it. And so yeah, the UK has flown the flag for punk rock for a long time, and I do sort of think it is kind of built into our DNA. And while we're pop punk and it's not necessarily straight up punk, it's punk adjacent. It's an offshoot of punk. It was only a matter of time before the UK produced like a decent pop punk band, and I, not to I am in no way comparing ourselves to the Beatles, trust me, but the way that did they basically were like a skiffle band before that, but then they started playing rock and roll, which is an American thing, and they almost went and did the American thing better than the Americans were doing, and the American music scene lost their shit about it. And there
Yeah,
was a similar thing, I think, when we sort of came out because it was like this is an American thing. Like, what are you doing? And I think we put our own unique twist on it, which is, yeah, I think UK's musical history is a long track record of doing that, of being inspired by other genres or taking or having other cultures' music infused into our culture and us making it into our own thing. And I think that's very similar as to what we did. But punk scene's always been strong. We had a good scene growing up when we were younger. It died out, unfortunately, after venues and promoters ended up closing and moving on. But had we have not had that, had I had not grown up going to watch Seb and my older brother playing bands and get to know the local music scene and the people within that, again, I don't think Neck Deep would be a band either. So, yeah, we probably do have a lot to owe to the UK being our home country and that heritage and that history and that focus that comes with or that focus that is put on you as being a British band. People expect good things out of British bands because we do have such a rich musical history, and it's one of the few things I'm proud about as a Brit. So, yeah, I think it's kind of built into our DNA, and I'm very, 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 very proud to be, you know, um, without tooting my own horn, but I think the biggest UK pop punk band there's ever been. I don't know. That's what I've been told. So yeah, very very proud of that fact, and I do think being where we're from has played a role in that for sure.
yeah. And I mean, just to finish it off and maybe bring it back a bit homegrown, we started on the note of covers with your Torn cover. Of
Yeah,
course, we have Triple J's Like a version, which is very prolific.
yeah, yeah.
If you were to do that with Neck Deep when you were here, what song would you do?
Damn, I'm always sort of like looking for songs to cover, or I'll occasionally make notes if I think that's a good song to cover.
Mhm.
And so let me let me try and find in my fucking in my absolute slew of notes that I've got on my phone that I did have a little list of like covers.
Yeah.
Um, I've got some insane notes in here. I've got band slash EP name Nipple Cripple. I was
Oh.
probably very high when I wrote that. I was just like, yeah, that'd be a funny band name. I can't find it, man. I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna find this thing, but um, if it was the cover song, man, there was one that came up recently that I was like, that would be a fucking sick cover to do.
Hmm.
Let me see. Can you search notes? Yes, you can. Cover ideas. Here we go. Ah, here you go. Boom.
Cooking with gas.
Like this is the song that we should have done for Torn because um the thing was songs that saved my life and genuinely a song I think maybe did Save Your Scissors by City and Colour.
Hmm.
I think we could do a really cool version of that. It's got a nice twinkly lead that we could like turn into something a little bit more drivey. And the other one was Bon Iver Flume. I just think that could have like a really expansive chorus to it. But I'd probably say Safer Scissors by City and Colour. I think that would be cool. But there's probably a few others, but they're the ones that's the one that jumps to mind. But I know I've had better ones since then. I know it's in there somewhere for sure. But yeah, that jumps to mind, and that's an important song to me. City and Colour was a big influence on me when I
Yeah.
started writing songs. So yeah,
Well, if the experience somehow comes to fruition, I'm claiming a little bit of yeah, a
yeah.
little bit for it.
Hey, put the record, start nailing them on social media. Say get them in for a version. That would be great.
Anyway, I think that is all I have time for today. But genuinely, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You honestly, great questions. Great
Thank
questions.
you. Also, if it's not too much, sending speedy recovery and best wishes to your dog. As
Thank you. Yeah, he's I think he's just downstairs. I'm gonna cuddle with his mum at the minute. He's very deaf, but he's all right. He's all
oh,
right. He's a lot happier than I imagined him being. I just imagined coming home and being, "Woo," but he's fine. He's fine. It was just me. I was being a bigger baby about it than he was. He's not bothered. Yeah,
but
yeah.
no,
But thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm sure he will too. I'll go pass it on to him.
thank you. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Nice one. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.